Gaia has completed her soul contract with the Matrix. What will that mean for us all in the 5D shift?
Welcome everybody, thank you so much for being here on a sort of warm and stuffy kind of day. We really appreciate your presence and we hope you're going to find this evening really illuminating. So my name's Tilly Budd, I'm the Community Connector for Openhand. Openhand is an organisation that's been going for almost 20 years now. We have quite a strong web presence. If you'd like to take this little leaflet home with you, it will give you our web address and my email at the bottom. If ever you're interested in any of our events, retreats, courses, Saturday afternoon Ascension exchanges online, you can find all the information you need on our website. Thank you for being here. This is a very special time. It's a special time in the shift. Openhand is all about helping people through this enormous shift of consciousness that is unfolding, the movement to 5D. It affects every single one of us. Many people are completely in the dark as to what is really happening, so we hope to bring a lot of illumination to that this evening. It's actually a really pivotal moment in that, where we feel that Gaia herself has completed a contract with the shadow side, if you like, the challenging consciousnesses within the cosmos that affect all life here on Earth. And Gaia has moved through a significant section of that whole karmic contract playing out. So that's why this evening is about Gaia emerging from the matrix, from that whole constricting consciousness. Open is a higher dimensional messenger. He came here almost 20 years ago as a walk-in. It was Open that started Openhand. And I'd like you to invite you to begin the seminar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. It is a hot evening, right? It is a hot evening. You could be out on the tour, you could be bathing in the stream or whatever, but for some reason you chose to be here. I'm thankful. It's great that you showed up, because I believe tonight you're going to hear a message which you're hearing nowhere else. Not in the fake stream, not in the spiritual mainstream, not even in the alternative communities. Because to be perfectly frank with you, I think the majority, especially and including the spiritual mainstream and alternative movement, are blinkered or focused in the wrong direction. In the wrong direction. Let me clarify why. And why it's so important that we really hoist on board the enormity of what is transpiring right now. The heat outside, of course, nothing to do with man-made fossil fuel emissions, although of course the shadow would have us believe that, but it's not normal either. The weather patterns aren't normal either. You have storms all around the planet that are hardly getting any kind of news. Like what happened in Florida. Okay, you might say that's kind of typical hurricane season, but it's not typical to be flooded out in the streets of Madrid or in Hong Kong and in southern China and in Istanbul and other places around the globe, flash flooding, completely flooded out. Why? You're not hearing about it. what's actually going on. What's going on with the sun? What's going on with the other planets in the solar system? All of them. What's going on with the galaxy and our part within it? No one is talking about this. They might be talking about certain aspects, but no one's putting it all together. I'm not claiming any arrogance or false pride, but I do believe we're seeing something that other people aren't seeing and truly joining the dots. Of course, it's up to you to decide for yourself, because no one can tell you the truth. I am going to offer a multi-dimensional perspective. I work with a higher dimensional ascended master team of energies who are working with the shift, who are working to support it and activate, animate it. And I can tell you right now, it feels like there's a strong lag of humanity behind the shift and what is truly going on. That's my perspective. I'd like to be wrong. If you believe I'm wrong, brilliant. Test me. Tell me. I'll be grateful for that. Maybe I can go and sit on a beach somewhere then too. But somehow I don't think so. I was on the beach out in La Palma, volcanic island this summer, and Gaia was speaking loud and strong. What was she saying? She was saying her soul contract with the Matrix is now complete. Her soul contract with the Matrix is now complete. What did she mean by that? What does that mean? And what will be the effect of it if it's true? I believe it is true. I believe we're already seeing the effect or effects, and I believe it's going to ramp up and escalate. And we need to be clear about how to mediate through that. In this hour and a half tonight, my purpose is to provide illumination as to how we might gear up with Gaia and the shift and align with it. That's my purpose tonight. See how it goes. I'd like it to be energetic, not just theoretical or intellectual. I'd like it to be felt, because most essentially, Ascension, shift to 5D, is something that can only be actualized by each and every person. It's not something you can theorize. You can point to it with the mind, but it's something we must do the inner work for within ourselves individually. But we can resonate, amplify when we come together in groups like this. And I can tell you, as I was sitting here earlier, I could feel there were many interdimensional groups connecting too, which is a great sign, because they can help us in profound ways. I'll clarify how I believe that will be the case in the presentation. But for now, I invite us to connect in a few moments of meditation together with a little bit of breath work that we apply in the open hand movement. So just close your eyes and sit, relax comfortably. We just start by inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And on the exhale, a deep sigh. So you're letting go of all of those concepts, ideas that you came in with, or the busyness of the matrix. And sinking down deep inside yourself. Connecting with what we call the torus, the presence, the vortex, the singularity, the one. Of course, we are that. And now as you inhale, feeling the expansiveness at the back of the throat. Of course, we're in the throat chakra. It's a gateway into higher dimensions. So as you inhale through the nose, but with attention in the throat, feel the expansiveness And as you inhale, it can take you up through the head, the third eye, the crown, and just above the crown, not too far, 6 inches probably, still in your own field. And now as you exhale, exhale down like you're exhaling down the inside of a sphere around you, your toroidal vortex. And now as you inhale from the base, up through the core of you, through the throat, through the head, above the crown, hold, feel the higher dimensional connection. Open your heart to it. As you exhale, exhale back through the crown, the head, the throat, down through the body, right to the base. A few times. Embrace our multidimensionality, opening ourselves to the higher dimensional guidance, information, illumination which wants to come through, which is speaking strongly to us at this time and is invited to make sense of exactly what is unfolding. And then slowly opening the eyes, yet staying in the centeredness behind the eyes. So even as you look out, you're still in that presence behind the eyes. The sense of the absolute singularity, which is what we are, in essence. It's my contention that for various reasons, Gaia herself had lost this toroidal presence, and so too has humanity up to this point. Why? How? Let's look at that. I'm going to explore several things. I'm going to explore the ancient alien architects and their healing, and why this is precipitating an historic shift right now. I'm going to look at how I believe Gaia's soul contract with them is complete. What does that mean? How the solar logos is speaking to us right now, and what does that mean? How will that escalate going forwards? How we can see the other side of the coin from fear and anxiety open into these grand galactic movements. Embrace, embody the energies. What will we feel? Then how can we bring them into our lives to catalyze them for maximum upliftment? And to be clear, I'm not talking about intention setting. That's Homo sapiens expanded out of the thimble a little degree. I'm talking about being the cosmos. I'm talking about being the galaxy and the solar system and Gaia, all aligned, all as one. Where does the intention come from? It's moving, it's happening. Intention has separated us from that. Purposeful, misdirected intention by the intervention. And the spiritual mainstream is rife with it, even in this town, especially in this town. Rife with it and misdirected by it. I am not talking about that. I am talking about becoming your God self. Your true God self doesn't need or want anything other than to express and actualize itself, and will create a myriad of opportunities to accomplish that. That's what I'm talking about. And bringing that into our lives. Bringing that into our lives. And how does manifestation truly happen through spiral dynamics? Because the universe is creating through spiral dynamics. What do I mean? We could say, where's my apple? Yeah. We could say this is the universal torus that exploded out at the singularity, at the what we can call the Big Bang. It's one way of naming it. It exploded out, but it also contracted back in. So you have an out-breath and in-breath, what the Brahmins call the out-breath and in-breath. And because the in-breath had a slight, shall we say, drag or time delay, as it came back to the singularity, you get a spin effect as it comes to the singularity. That's why every form of sentient life has this toroidal spin through it. That's what I mean by the torus. The ancient alien architects, the Anunnaki, know how to slow this down for planet Earth. Excuse me, my throat is tickling for the first time today. We have some opening in the fifth density through the throat chakra wanting to happen. Let's see how it goes. The Anunnaki discovered how to slow Gaia's torus down and create a disempowered matrix based on a slowed down energy field with humanity hybridized and sucked into it. That's essentially what's happened. I'm going to share in a moment or two how and why that happened, and share our experiences of direct telepathic communication with the architects themselves and what they eventually offered up and told us. I'm going to share that in a moment. But basically, this torus, if this is, for example, the solar system, it's been slowed down for Gaia and created a synthetic reality detached from that energy field. Likewise in us. Now, when we reanimate that, and I believe Gaia is reanimating her torus now, when we reanimate that, we come back into alignment with Gaia. Gaia comes into alignment with the solar system, and if now this is the solar system, because we're all fractals of the whole, this would be the galactic core. And so you've got Gaia coming back into alignment with the galaxy and the movement of that. And right now, we are going through a high energetic segment of the galaxy, which is bringing in a massive amount of cosmic energy at a time, we can say this segment, at a time when the sun is lowering its magnetic shield around the solar system, and Gaia is lowering her magnetic shield in the pole shift. We're traveling through that high segment. That's why the weather patterns are so topsy-turvy, bombarded, because you've got highly charged particles from the sun coming into the atmosphere, bouncing around through the magnetosphere, the ionosphere, and then affecting the jet streams. And this is why the weather is so topsy-turvy. But of course, no one's talking about that. Well, one or two are, but you don't hear about them because they're censored, because it doesn't fit the fake stream, right? It doesn't fit the story they want to control society with. This is what I mean by spiral dynamics, and the 1111 awakening code then is the awakening of 4 key centers. My soul, with that of Gaia, and the solar logos, the sun, and the galactic core. Bring those 4 centers into alignment through meditation and the way you animate in daily life, and now you're downloading the power of the galaxy through you. These alignments of these centers, that's why it becomes so powerful. Not necessarily grandiose or arrogant, but nevertheless, it's speaking in a different way, guiding in a different way, bringing us back to the God Self, which is the invitation to humanity right now. This is what I mean by spiral dynamics then, and we'll look at how that manifests in life, how we can work with it. But first, let's talk about the ancient alien architects. I was running a workshop just up the road, Avalon Rooms, about, when was it, 2010, I think it was? 2011, 10 or 11. And a chap showed up, had a massive awakening through it. It was like he was lying on the floor, he was literally bouncing off the floor. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. And it was his first major awakening, but it was a powerful experience he had. And afterwards he contacted me, and he made it clear that a cosmic guide or leader was trying to speak through him, or was speaking through him, had infused through him. He was connected with that group, and the energy of one of the kings of the Anunnaki, Enki, came through. There are two you may have read about, Enki and Enlil. So Enki came through, and over a period of about 2 years, leading up 18 months, 2 years, leading up to the galactic alignment of 2012, we met on many occasions. And what happened was, during that time, Enki, through this chap, tried to persuade me of the Anunnaki's alignment with the planet and what they were trying to do. I'd written the book 5 Gateways. What happens a great deal in the spiritual mainstream is if you hit on some element of truth, the intervention here tries to own it. That might be with promise of resources, it might be the promise of extra connections, more people, more clicks, these kinds of things. And that was tried with me. However, I knew what I was here to deliver, that true healing is not about taking the karma away, which is what he wanted to do, because it's still disempowering. There is also self-realization through the karma. And if that hasn't happened, then we haven't grown, and the karma just regenerates. And yet what you get is you get a kind of worshipping effect, which happens a great deal because suddenly this person's pain has been removed. This is what he tried to persuade me of, but I wasn't having it because I knew the truth of it. I knew the fallacy of it. And so in these, there were very intense connections. They literally, when I met with the guy, we would be 24/7, literally, exchanging. The Anunnaki, extremely intellectual, extremely intelligent, extremely sophisticated, and tremendous understanding of truth and alignment with the universe. They'd just been misaligned. And in one of these meetings, one of these engagements, it became clear why. That during the Sirius explosion, 120 million years ago, many people have come here with the karma of that, by the way. In our organization, all the time we're coming across people who regress into the trauma of the Sirius explosion and what that meant. Well, to the Anunnaki, they felt like they'd been abandoned by God. They felt like they'd been deceived by God. This is what Enki said. And disconnected from the Taurus. And so what they did was they set about regenerating, recreating their civilization through different constellations until they came to Earth. And they found, of course, the Earth rich and abundant with resources. Perfect place to create a civilization. They even had a species that they could work with, original humans. To the Anunnaki, though, original humans were living in the Stone Age, the Dark Ages, according to them. According to the Lemurians, yes, interconnected, higher dimensional. The fact that you look like a Neanderthal or something like it, well, so what? That's the judgment, right? But nevertheless, the Anunnaki saw them as a malleable being which they could use to fulfill their agenda here, which was to create a civilization. And so they embarked on genetic hybridization. Now, I'm not going to go into the evidence of that, but it's absolutely crystal clear. I put it in the book Divinicus, if anyone's interested. Look at the chromosome count. How we went suddenly from 48 chromosomes in hominids to 46 in Homo sapiens. That's not one single step mutation, as Darwin's theory requires. It's not even two, because you've joined the second and the third chromosomes. It's not even two, it's actually several, because you have to unbuild the telomeres on the end of the chromosomes in order to get them to connect. In order to get them to connect. Why would that happen? Because it's actually a downgrade. It risks genetic disorders and infertility. How is that an advantage to natural evolution? Well, of course it's not. So why was it done? There had to be a reason, because it creates speciation. If you change the original stock species, which they did through sound technology, in South Africa there's nearly 1 million stone circles. No doors, no windows, no roofs. Yet when you stand in them and you hit the stones, I know because I've been in them, some of them, you hit the stones, they resonate in vibration, and if you're sensitive enough, you can feel the impact on your DNA. At a DNA level, you can feel it. Michael Tellinger has brought a lot of information. The alternative archaeologist has brought a lot of information about these. Well, so when you resonate them, they change the DNA. And this is how, one of the ways in which the Anunnaki changed human DNA. In accordance with a dynamic, in accordance with a configuration that served their agenda, to go on and populate the earth in effect, which is what has happened. This was their agenda. I'm not going to get into that in too much detail. The evidence is there, it's abundant. We have 4,000 or 5,000 genetic disorders, whereas the average creature has only 100. We have had leaps in our genetic configuration that happened practically overnight, not, over millions of years. Anyway, the chromosome count is the nail in the coffin for Darwin theory to me, because the odds of it happening by chance are infinitesimally impossible. But anyway, I won't get into it. If you're interested, read the book Divinicus, because all of the information about it is in there. But the Anunnaki experienced a problem. And this is what they communicated when we connected with them this summer. They experienced a problem, and the problem was this, that no matter what engineering they inculcated or impressed upon humanity, the natural toroidal spin, if this is a human being, the natural toroidal spin kept re-emerging. So here you have this programmed, conditioned, hybridized Homo sapiens, but the natural torus kept emerging because the torus of the earth kept emerging. And of course we're interconnected. That's the 1111 code, as I understand it. So original humans kept emerging out. The original configuration kept emerging out. What could they do? What did they do? Well, I warn you before I express it. At this point you might think, I've gone slightly crazy. Well, hear me out before you make that conclusion. Hear me out, because it sounds grandiose, and it is. It's massive, but it needs to be explored. What did they do? I'm hesitant to say it, but they misappropriated a passing asteroid. They misappropriated a passing asteroid, and using sound technology, they hollowed it out and created the moon. Wow. Wow. Really? Are you serious? Yes. Yes, I'm deadly serious. The moon, let's look at some of the detail of the moon. It's 6 times the average you'd expect for a moon orbiting its planet. 6 times the average. It's a quarter the size of the Earth, but 1.2% of the density. That means it's hollow. In fact, it's rung like a bell when various asteroids, explosions, or craft, if you believe it, have landed upon it. It's got materials on the surface like titanium, like brass, spent nuclear fuel. Where did that come from? Where did these synthesized materials come from? It's in a very perfect orbit to block out the sun during an eclipse. How does that happen by chance? The perfect orbit. Speaking of the orbit, it spins, the moon spins once, only once, as its trajectory around the Earth, as it goes around the Earth. So one side of it is always pointing away. You never see the dark side of the moon. You never see it. You've got, if we look at the geometry, the sun is 108 times its diameter from the Earth. Well, interestingly, the moon is 108 times its diameter from the Earth. Wow, how does that happen? How does that happen? It's infinitesimally impossible. It was created. Why? What does it do? Well, the Anunnaki were a little resistant to sharing that at first. They were very reluctant to share it. They confirmed the detail that it was artificial, that they had created it. They were proud of it. They're a proud, egotistical builder, architecture race. Well, before I connected with them, the guidance came to me, well, what they're doing is they're misappropriating energy from the sun through electromagnetic coupling, creating a perpetual energy machine internally in the moon and using the energy gathered to project through the 4D morphic fields onto the planet. Wow. Wow. Wow, just think about that for a moment. The enormity of that. Why would they do it? Because the projected energy through the 4D morphic fields influences the human makeup. It influences the emotions, the psyche, hormones, hormonal cycles, the birthing cycle. It impacts especially the birthing cycle. I'm going to present a dynamic a fact to you. See what you think about it. Let's say an original human, in their, a female, in her fertile years, let's say conservatively 20 fertile years, and would have then 240 moon times. Why give so much energy when she's only going to have maybe half a dozen offspring? That's weird. That's not natural. Surely it's not. Why would nature waste so much energy when it's so depleting? Can be. Why? And why should it harmonize with the moon as it did originally? Now, I know this is hefty. I know this is going to be hefty. If this lands a truth and you feel it, as a lot of people I've been speaking to in gatherings like this have felt the truth in it, it can be a bit hefty at first. The emotional state of human beings are being controlled in this way. I invite you to investigate that, because I put it to you, that's exactly what's been going on. Exactly what's been going on. And what it's doing now, the next agenda that came to me as well from the higher dimensionals, is synthetic womb implants that block the infusion of natural soul and receive impulses from an AI centralized brain. Yes, the next evolution of Homo sapiens is designed to be an organic vehicle, but taking information from an AI, centralized AI brain. Yes, yes, yes. That's the enormity, the arrogance, the ego of that plan. And it is already failing, and it will spectacularly break down. That is my strong prediction. Why? Why? When I presented this to the Anunnaki genetic engineers through meditation, telepathically, they were shocked that it was known what they were doing and how. I mean, you can speculate what's happening, but without the evidence of how, it means nothing. But when it was presented to them, reflected to them, this is what we know. There was shock, consternation, you could feel it in the field. And from that evening that this meditation took place, I received nightly visitations from synthetic, tall, white, fourth dimensional beings who were created by the Anunnaki, who were trying to intimidate me. Every night, wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, my body is literally vibrating, the heart palpitating, I think I'm going to have a heart attack. They're trying to suppress and intimidate. But I wasn't having any of it. I've experienced too many challenges here to be fazed by that. I've had too many encounters with reptilians and greys and you name it. I'm just not going to be fazed by it. The key is always to turn into it. And this is what I did. I challenged it. I have my trusty obsidian. I found that they were attacking particular chakras, and if I put the obsidian on the chakra, it connected me into the torus. It connected me in, and they disappeared really quickly. And then they'd move up to the throat chakra, and I did the same. Then they'd move up to the third eye, or they'd go lower down. After a little while, they would give up. But the next night, they'd come again, and again, and again. They kept going. They kept going until another crucial key was presented to them. Another crucial key was presented to them. What was that? Where are we now? Healing of Enki and Enlil split. Another crucial key. We're coming up to the facilitator conference. We have a facilitator group in Openhand who are working with these concepts, but not just the concepts, working energetically to realign, unravel, and bring back into the natural alignments. We have a facilitator group around the world that's doing that. We convened in Avebury, and leading up to that, I got this pearl of a key from the higher dimensionals, from the Openhand team. And it was a question, and it was this: what do you think the Anunnaki feel about their legacy here? What do you think they feel about their legacy? It was just a question. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll hold that one for the right moment. I'll hold it for the right moment. So, coming into this meeting, this gathering, there was also a very important, powerful film was released, The Sound of Freedom. The Sound of Freedom, about a tragic travesty that's going on, a systemic one, orchestrated, it is believed, by the elites, which is that of child trafficking. Massive industry. Shocking. And the fact that they tried to suppress the film and hold it back for years, all the mainstream streaming platforms, other mainstream organizations wouldn't release it. But eventually it did get released. And when it did, it outsold every mainstream Hollywood film this summer, and is still going and escalating strong. Why? Because it shares the bloody truth of what is going on right now and here, and it is systemic to this reality. When I connected with the Anunnaki, when we connected as a group, Enlil came through. Enki had been healed at the galactic alignment, released, let go, brought back to the galactic fold, evolved into 5D with his group, but his other group, the other group under Enlil, his brother, split. You will read about Enlil and Enki in the Sumerian tablets. They split. Enlil, here on the planet, was still undertaking his agenda, using tall whites and AI to fulfill it, with practically zero empathy or compassion for humanity. This is what they were doing. But nevertheless, they're proud architectural builder races. It's hefty, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. We can emerge out, but we've got to confront it.
Yeah.
I commend you for allowing yourself to feel it. I really do.
I must feel it
To release it. Yeah.
To let it
Yeah.
Be felt.
Yes, that's what we must do. That's how we emerge out. Because we've all had, lifetimes in and out of these different interventions and on both sides of the coin. So letting go of it is essential, yeah. We'll do a meditation with it in a moment. Okay. Enlil came to me, came to the group, and in one of the key engagements, I presented to him the question that had been given to me. I talked about the sound of freedom. I talked about the systemic suffering of children on the planet. I asked him the pivotal question, how do you feel about that? That would be your legacy here. That not only is it seen by we mere mortals, it's seen across the cosmos by your star soul brothers and sisters. How do you feel about that? Wow, massive impact. You could feel it rippling through the field because it's my belief, it's clear, they didn't intend that. The energies got perverted, distorted by satanic groups on the planet and demonic entities, distorted the energies on the planet. It wasn't their design, but nevertheless it was their legacy. And you could feel the impact of that, the rippling effect in the field. Let's be clear, we're living in morphic fields. We're not separate, you know that. But it appears like you're separate, like we're separate. Yet we're interconnected through these morphic fields. And there's information going down through the fields all the time, like from the moon, for example. Now, when you challenge that, when you're able to challenge the foundation of that, as this question did, it started to unravel via control. It started to unwind. And at that point, we brought Enki, we created a bridge for Enki to come in, and the two reconnected, and they healed. They were healing. You can't say for sure that they definitely 100% healed, because that's going to be an ongoing process. But that's what we experienced. And we had strong evidence of it in the subsequent days and weeks. In fact, after that meditation, there were strong movements within the financial industry, emergence of crypto, for example, success within the crypto field in that Ripple XRP won its case against the Securities and Exchanges Commission. To me, that's a fundamental breakthrough of the freedom of expression, peer-to-peer connection for humanity, and is intended as such, even though it's been distorted right now. And there was an immediate response through that channel, and we've seen plenty more since. I just hold that up. I believe now what you're seeing on the planet is the matrix field weakening its strength. That doesn't mean to say it isn't highly active. Yes, it is. It's gone crazy. But how is the strength and coherency of that now? I would maintain it's weakened greatly. And we will see that weakening. I think you'll get increasing pushback. I think you'll see breakthrough in the political spectrum, the financial world. I think you'll see a lot of pushback against any future bogus pandemic phases that might come. I think this is going to push back in a big way. It won't all disappear. No, absolutely not. Because you've got other layers of the matrix. And a lot of human leaders, if you like, who are still influenced by that old energy. So it's not going to disappear like that. But I believe you're already seeing the fragmentation, the breakdown of the coherency of it. And that's very, very important and pivotal. Powerful, pivotal, historic moments. Something else has happened, though. Something else has happened. And this was communicated to me subsequently to that. And that is that the contract, the soul contract that Gaia had with the Anunnaki is now complete. Wow, why would she have a soul contract with the Anunnaki? I have previously experienced communications connections where she tried to incarnate at the early formation of our solar system as a protoplanet, but couldn't hold the strong gravitational forces that required and exploded, creating the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. That's what she showed me. In fact, ironically, the moon would be from that asteroid belt. Ironically. It's kind of like, to simplify it, it's kind of like what it's like when you're a star soul trying to incarnate in this peculiar vehicle. And the desire, the understanding desire by a lot of star souls to extract and withdraw, well, it's similar. It's a similar dynamic. But in that case, she exploded. The evidence is there. Okay, that's my interpretation. It's what she gave me. But certainly, a star soul of that proportions of magnitude would have gone through that experience because a protoplanet did explode. I'm saying it was Gaia. And that's the contract she brought to this planet. She needed an energy layer to constrain her kundalini so it doesn't explode. There have been 5 mass extinctions on this planet. We're in the 6th. Some of them have been explosive, not necessarily caused by her, but still explosive. But nevertheless, it's held together. But it's held together through constraint. And the matrix was a part of that constraint. The moon was a part of that constraint. To slow her torus down, excuse me, to slow her energy field down so she could hold the energies of what it's like to be incarnated in a planet. That's what was communicated. Well, now the contract is complete. And the moon, as I understand it, the power, the energy of it is being diminished. Is being diminished. And so it's having less of an effect. You might find, especially this one that's gone recently, it has less effect emotionally. Very interesting synchronicity that when you get up early in the morning, I'm looking up into the sky before dawn, and you're seeing Saturn next to the blue moon, super blue moon. And it felt like it was speaking of a realignment with the planets as opposed to the moon. Powerful. Now, I usually feel massive emotional impact. Funny enough, I'm a guy, but nevertheless, I feel a massive emotional impact around the moon. Debilitating one. I didn't get that this time. I didn't get it. I don't know what other people were feeling, but I feel like the power of the moon is diminishing. And it's coming at a time when Gaia's torus is now accelerating. Her spin, the spin of the Earth, is actually increasing in speed. It might be small, but the gravitational magnetic force of it is, the gravitational force is strengthening. Her magnetic shield is weakening, and that supports the increase in speed. That's what we're seeing. And hence, we're getting the impact of a high energy segment of the galaxy that I pointed to that we're also traveling in. So it's converging. It's converging all together. The cycles are coming together. There's a third cycle that it's converging with. That is, we're moving. The woman looks a bit washed out, right? That was me at the weekend. We're moving into a sunspot maximum, an 11-year cycle, but during a grand solar minimum, which is a 400-year cycle. They're apparently conflicting cycles. What it means is the sun's magnetic shield is lowering through the 400-year cycle, but with the sunspot cycle, the release of energy is increasing through coronal mass ejections. We had 3 this weekend. If you felt discombobulated, out of sorts, headachy, lethargic, or totally activated but not knowing where to put it, where to put the energy, that's likely caused by the sunspot activity and mild geomagnetic storms. A lot of people have reported experiencing these kinds of things. you've got an amplification of energy then. This is the other side, the flip side of the coin. It's creating geostorms, freaky weather, like the torrential rainstorms we've been seeing, and probably some of the wildfires. But yes, of course, the shadow is trying to take ownership of that in order to propagate this projection of fear and control. But nevertheless, it's hiding, it's masking what's really going on. No one's sharing this. And this is only going to amplify. This will amplify. Like when we come to sunspot maximum, it'll drop, the activity will drop for another 11 years, and then it'll rise again. That cycle is going to be massive, because you have this convergence with an increase in diminishment of the Earth's magnetic field. You have a diminishment in the sun's magnetic field, so more energy released, and we're getting also a galactic superwave inbound. So it's a grand convergence of these 4 cycles that's going on. Right now, I wonder how you're feeling. It feels like, it's a tremendous weight to share this in many ways, because I realize the impact that it can have. So it is a weight to share it. I'm not just doing this lightly. I'm doing it because it's necessary. It's necessary because if we transition through, there's another side of the coin. Just to help us with what might be processing now, I'd like to do a little meditation that helps us release whatever fear, anxiety, density might have been stirred up, because I recognize my sharing could have done that, is likely to have done that. But we can break through. Remember, whatever contracts you, whatever makes you feel discombobulated, that's an opportunity to unwind from the effect of that. So just closing your eyes. And bring your attention once more to the breath. And we inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Feel your centeredness anchor in the core of you, the presence, the singularity. Now it's important we honor reactivity to what's going on, so I can feel some energy coming up. So I want you to put your attention in whatever situation or circumstance presents in your life right now in response to all of that, how it might connect with the cycles I've shared, where it's causing some anxiety, fear, tightness. Put your attention in that and feel it. Breathe with it, breathe into it. Visualize it. Visualize the circumstances of the situation. Maybe there are other people involved. Feel the tightness, but remember, know this, as you're feeling it, as you're breathing with it, is you wouldn't be here at this time if you weren't meant to be. You wouldn't be feeling these feelings if it wasn't in your karmic unconsciousness. Let me remind you, you are not a Homo sapiens. That's one part of your experience. This is not who you are. You are the God self. at the core of it all. And that whatever experience, whatever physical, emotional, mental experience you're having is only a transient, temporary one. And will unwind once we let go of the attachment in that situation. What are you afraid of will happen if you just let go? Well, is it worth carrying that baggage? Will it help to carry that old baggage? I put it to you, not that it won't. You know that. But sometimes these situations are very compelling. Could be a relationship that you're being pulled into and acting inauthentically within because of a fear of what might happen if you were authentic. Or a job situation where you wish to change the circumstances, but you're afraid of the outcome, maybe. These are tangible, real things. You might be concerned about where resources come from. Well, let me share this with you. When you are in the God self, you will actualize exactly what you need to be you. You don't even have to think about resources because they will shape around you. The God self crystallizes energy from the quantum field. So can you now let go of your investment in that small world attachment and just set it down and let go and sit watching it, dissociated from it. It doesn't have to define you. You are not that. Feel the letting go. Feel the unwinding. Breathe with the unwinding. Unravel with the unwinding. As I play the music, see how the music might animate the re-emergence of authentic, joyful, uplifting energy within you. Just feel it for a moment longer. My system has switched itself off. Feel it, breathe with it. You might get a spiral coming up. Okay, and then feel then, with the in-breath, the rising of energy. Feel the emergence from that. If you want to move your hands, move your hands. Feel it, breathe with it. Feel the spiral up and the spiral down. Feel the torus within you. Now when we re-engage this moving Kundalini energy through the torus, then it's going to have a powerfully catalytic effect in our lives in the most beneficial way. So let us explore the nature of that and how to bring that energy to bear to catalyze, change, transform, uplift our lives with this grand galactic movement. Thank you for your energy. So I'm going to show a video. It's a little video I put together a few weeks back, a couple of weeks ago, out in Wales, and just experiencing the completion of Gaia's soul contract and connecting with that and feeling the emergence of energy from that. It's clear to me we've entered a new phase of the shift, one we could call catalysis and change. I get the sense that Gaia has completed her contract with the old paradigm, the old construct now, and will progressively unwind, emerge her energies out of that old way of living and being, and progressively ascend into the new 5D consciousness. That could precipitate some fear and anxiety because everything is being unraveled and broken down. But if that's the case, it's an invitation because fear or anxiety, they prepare us for change and transformation. Well, I'd say the key is illumination. You know when you hit an obstacle. Because it hits something inside. You could go left, you could go right, you could fly over the top. But something crunches inside and you feel that jarring experience. Well, the crucial point here is illumination. It's illumination of that crunch point internally, whether it's mentally, physically, wherever it is in your body. Bring your attention to that, because that's why you manifested it. You manifested the blockage, the indecision from that blocked consciousness inside. So stand with it, be with it, look into the obstacle. You feel like you know you've got to cross. Now this could be a relationship, a job, or general living circumstances. You know you're going to cross. You don't know how. The question is to go deep inside, pay attention to what's going on externally, but unravel internally. feel the unraveling, and then the choice makes itself. Sometimes you'll feel pretty stuck, and others will be like you can fly. And always, what you're looking for is a new aspect of beingness. Whether it's determination, commitment, and willpower, whether it's sensitivity, softness, patience, persistence, whether it's diplomacy, but not compromising the soul, so holding different truths until some resolution lands, sitting, being prepared to sit in the unresolution until something lands. And holding that inside, embodying that, it's a new way of being. And because you're then presenting into the world in a different way, it can't help but bend, shape, crystallize the time-space continuum around you, because it responds to authentic being. We're clearly on the path of ascension right now. The catalysis in this grand galactic convergence is increasing and accelerating step by step, moment by moment, every single day. And that's okay. That's completely all right. You're going to feel it coming through your life. You're going to feel it challenging every single aspect of it. The crucial thing is to equalize with it, to work with it, become as one with it. Whatever comes up, then you'll have a most extraordinary, unfolding, expanding, self-realizing journey. It'll be totally magnificent. That's how to approach life now in society and in the shift, is to transcend it, break down the old way of living and being, challenge the dogma, the repetitive behavior patterns, open through them, and create a space for a new aspect, a new way of living, being, and expressing to come through. And if we do that, we're going to find this energy is going to connect with the soul, it's going to uplift, expand us, and we're going to find new magic, miracles, synchronicities, profound upliftment, joy, and connection coming through our lives. That's the great possibility of this new phase that we're moving into. That of catalysis and change. Who else is getting technology problems these days? Anyone? Everyone? Everyone. I blame the Arcturians. We have a tremendous opportunity, and this is now what I mean by a gear change. There's two sides of the coin. There's two sides of the coin. There's one where we've been living in this small thimble called Homo sapiens and the society that's been created for us. That's one way of living. And there's another way of living which recognizes this tremendous shift that's ongoing. Recognizes that it's coming through every single moment of our lives, every single circumstance, relationships, work, career, how you live, every single moment. And it's inviting a number of things. One, to take ownership of what you're manifesting. To take ownership. To see where you're getting tight. What are you afraid of? What are you anxious? What is your attachment or investment in the moment? Because the God self isn't invested. Now let me qualify that. The God self will still actualize, still yearns to actualize. It will, but it's not invested in any one particular single outcome. It's constantly creating without limitation. And when we attach ourselves to a particular outcome, the risk is we make ourselves small and limited. We define ourselves by the resources we chase or the resistance to what's being invited. We define ourselves and limit ourselves by that rather than saying, bring it on, I am this, I'm going to unwind through the tightness and I'm going to open up for another possibility. What's the possibility I'm opening to? I put it to you, it's a new aspect of beingness. A new aspect of beingness. And particularly, what do I mean by that? Because lots of people talk about beingness, right? Or being is the change. What does that mean? It's not just about, I'm just going to be and hang out on the sofa. It's not just that. Or just surrender. Often, to me, surrender is much misunderstood. Surrender might get us into, let's say, 4D expanded space. You might feel really relaxed. And it might feel pretty awesome. But that's not the end of the story. Because next, there's coming into the presence, really coming into the presence, where you've unraveled, unpacked, let go of small self-identity. That is a big journey in itself. And it brings up fear, can do, when you're on the precipice of falling into that. It's like everything is stripped from you. And there's concern, worry, fear about losing yourself. Well, we're only losing the false self. But there's a sense of you losing yourself. And then who are you now? So often when people drop into the Taurus, the presence, they say, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. That's a really good sign. That's a really good sign. Why? Because you actualize in the moment, and that's how you are. That's who you're being. And if we can allow that to happen and just present, come forth with what arises naturally from within, now we're creating as one with the Taurus, as one with the universe. We're calling on this incredible energy to infuse and come through us. Now we can watch for that energy coming through in particular ways. And I'm going to put this up. It's a piece of work which actually we can say was begun. It's 9 frequencies of beingness. We can say it begun with Alice Bailey and Blavatsky in the late 1800s, 1900s, channeling Dwal Kul as the 7 rays. We're looking at 9, in this case, 9 aspects or frequencies of beingness. Now, this is not an intellectual learning. It's more a way of pointing at possibility of frequencies that are in you. And we've also attributed them, and I hope they don't get angry with us, we got it wrong, to different star soul groups, different star being nations. Let me talk through them just briefly. Ray 9, the maternal energy. We've attributed that to Kuan Yin. Could also be Gaia, could be Lady Avalon as well. The mothering energy, I think Avalon's a bit different than that, but nevertheless. Paternal, we're attributing that at this time to Metatron here, very powerful, very fast, paternal energy. The Magician, Ray 7, we're attributing that to the Lyrans. It's like you're ready, you're able, you're willing to sit in the unknown and embrace the infinite potential of the moment and be prepared to open through the contractions. The smallness of Homo sapiens wants to know what's coming next. If you can sit in the unknown and wait, then some piece of magic will activate and trigger. And the Lyrans are, to me, tremendously adept at embodying that kind of energy. It's more of a free flow, spontaneity, allowing that to unfold. The Arcturians, the ones who are playing with my sound, I think, no, maybe not. I shouldn't attribute that to them. But they're very scientific, metaphysical, erudite, sophisticated. I always think Yoda from Star Wars when I think of the Arcturians because they're kind of quirky and funny, but they know what they're doing and they're here, they're helping. They have orchestrated many of the crop circles, many of the great crop circles we've seen over the years. So I know the Arcturians are coming in on, I would say, the Ray 6, about sovereignty, authenticity. The Andromedans, we had a bit of a discussion with them. They were a little bit distant during the crop circle season. They didn't manifest anything, except right at the end. Beautiful one. Tremendous, with tremendous geometry and a hexagon in the middle. If you look at the crop circle season, you'll see the very last one of its kind, and I believe that was created by the Andromedans. You got the Anu, the evolved Anunnaki, who are now, as I understand it, I believe, I trust, they're working on the Ray 4 to reverse engineer the matrix. Well, the Ray 4 is that of diplomacy. It's about recognizing there are different dynamics, different motivations in any given situation, and holding those different viewpoints, respecting them all, but not necessarily diminishing your own or compromising your own. It's like you hold that unresolution and let the Ray 4 resolve it for you in a family dynamic, a work dynamic, these situations. The Ray 3, the artist, interpreter, whether that's poetry, we'll get some poetry later, I believe, whether it's art, whether it's painting, whether it's creating blogs, vlogs, it's interpreting the natural energy coming through in a physical way, and the Orions, to me, are very adept at that. So that would be the Ray 3. Then you've got the Divine Servant, the Pleiadians, I feel, coming in on that, the sense of joy, unconditional love, acceptance, these energies. And then the Divine Leader, drive, will, commitment, courage. And I'm calling the Draconians on that. I mean the aligned Draconians. You can call it dragon energy. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm calling those frequencies not as a means of intellectually learning them. I wouldn't propose that. I'm suggesting just as an activation of energy. To give you an example for me of how it works, this last week, had a couple of weeks off before it, this last week came back, tremendous amount of admin. As you do, you got lots of emails, you're smiling, yeah, you recognize it. A lot of emails, a lot of stuff to get done, head filling up with BS. You know what it's like, you've been there. Our world is getting so complex. If there's an app for this, an app for that, you know what I'm talking about. It's getting ridiculous. And I had this incredibly relaxed, free-flowing 2 weeks, and I thought, wow, do I really have to engage myself with this? Do I really have to do that? And I came out through the door and I was saying, show me. What do I do? Show me. And I shut the door, and this spider had built its web right next to the lock, and the spider was sitting in the middle of the web, right? And I partially noticed it, but I didn't give it too much attention, although I love spiders. I headed out, a couple hours, came back. The spider was still there, exactly the same position. It may be that it hadn't moved for 2 hours. Could well be. Spiders do that, right? And it was just sitting there. I'm thinking, my God, that is incredible. Incredible. And it was telling me patience, persistence, but also focus. It only moves when it recognizes something important comes into its web. It doesn't jump all over the place. It stays still, it's patient, it's persistent. So, right, thank you, spider. That's what I'm going to embody. That's what I'm going to embody. And I did that. Now, interestingly, I'm needing to change my car. And there's a myriad of different possibilities, but nothing felt right. I came down to my car yesterday morning. And I swear it's the same spider. It had built a web between the wall and the wing mirror of my car and was sitting right in the middle. And I'm thinking, yeah, patience, persistence, and the right thing will show up. What I'm saying then is that when we're in this God self that I've spoken of, when we're in this, life has a different way of creating and catalyzing and manifesting. It's not about intention, it's about what you actualize as a being. And so the spider was saying, take note, be patient, but be persistent, be attentive, watch what comes to you in your web, and pay attention to that, and commit to that. And sure enough, that feeling was coming through me, and I could recognize it. And now I know things are shaping, changing in a way that is going to fulfill my potential within that and what wants to create next. So this is the key change I believe we need to make. Change from trying to control, trying to manifest, trying to intentioning, and instead softening up, opening into the torus, and allowing these energies to arise, recognizing the reflection, and then expressing with those. And then you create these tremendous feedback loops with the universe that weaves the field accordingly. And for different people, it'll come from nature, others it'll come from numerology, some it'll come from sacred geometry. We're all different. It'll come in different ways. And it's about recognizing, paying attention for you. With that in mind, I'd like to do one final short meditation that helps you look at a particular situation that you're faced with where there's some degree of uncertainty and you'd like some clarity on. So just close your eyes. And just intuit the first situation which maybe has some disharmony or uncertainty that you'd like clarity on. Visualize the situation in as much detail as you can. Maybe it's a particular environment or setting. Maybe it has protagonist people involved. Potentially some of those dynamics aren't harmonious, maybe. Maybe it's resource related. Bring your attention to it. See it in all its detail. Breathe with it. And now notice any reactivity tightening inside. Whether it's the solar plexus, the sacrum, heart. Or maybe it could be that it's a dead zone where you go out of body slightly. That happens a lot. Not wanting to deal with it, that's understandable, very understandable. But pay attention to that. Now feel the dissonance that creates and ask, is it worth me carrying that? Does it bring anything? Does it succeed in any way? Does it achieve anything? Me carrying it. Assuming you decide no, well, set it down. Set it down, visualize, feel, breathe an open space coming into the situation. It hasn't necessarily resolved, but you've just let go of your investment in it. You're now in a dissociated place with it. You're still there, you're still in it, but it's taken on a different relationship to you. You have taken on a different relationship to it. There's a degree of dissociation from it. And now, ask the question, how would you have me be in that situation? How would you have me be? Now, what's the first intuitive thing come to you? Let's say it's a creature. What's the first creature that comes to you? And how is the creature being? So how is the creature inviting you to be? Not what to do, but how to be. Or maybe it's a landscape. Maybe it's the ocean. Maybe it's trees. Maybe it's the sky. Maybe that comes to you. How is that inviting you to be? And then feel the embodiment of that energy. Breathe it into you. With the breath, infuse it through you. Might be a particular chakra. Just breathe the sense of that energy through you. If you didn't have that energy, you wouldn't have resonated with it. So feel it and let it come through you. Now, what might be the first step from that energy? It doesn't have to be a complex thing. It could be setting up your altar at home. It could be calling your boss maybe tomorrow or something, or meeting with him, asking for some different circumstances. It could be exploring with a friend, partner, relationship, child about a dynamic which is a bit challenging. It could be that. It could be inquiring about resources and inviting a reflection on how to be with them, how to be different. What will be the first step? Okay, and now the invitation is to trust in right action. Excuse me. Trust in right action. Trust that the right thing is going to animate, that enables you to fully actualize your being. Now I want to address, just to conclude with, goals. Because in this state, a vision might come to you of something you wish to achieve, something you wish to create. Maybe you want to do some spiritual work, you want to write a book, create a video, blog, whatever. Maybe you want to do that. Something comes to you to create, or change location, change job. I want to talk about spiral dynamics. Remember how we began. We said that we're coming back to creating naturally with the universe in spirals. Rather than being Homo sapiens in the thimble chasing down objectives, instead we're being this divine God self, and the universe is rotating around us. Our reality is. So you might get a vision of something to step into to create in a particular way. But it's not going to create in a linear way, because reality doesn't do that. Only the matrix does, only intentionality does, only logic does. A, B, C, D, F, G. Reality, authentic, I put it to you, doesn't create like that. Creates in spirals. What does it mean? It means I'm going to start seeing visions of possibilities, picking up intuitions and feelings. Oh, it could be that house. Oh, it could be that location. Oh, it could be that car. But it might not be. But the soul is coming through and it's inviting me to step toward it. So I'm going to step toward it, but I'm going to keep inquiring. Is this me? Is this authentic? Is it inviting something else, a different expression? I take another step. It changes again. It evolves again until finally it lands. All the pieces come together and you feel that landing, that everything click in. And to me, this is spiral dynamics. And so I'm staying attentive. I'm watching what comes into my web like the spider. But I'm waiting until I know this is right, then I'm moving toward it, but I'm watching for how it might or might not change. Because that's how, to me, the universe actualizes reality. And so this is my invitation to you, is to look at creating, be open to reality creating in a different way. And I believe this is the invitation for humanity now, to step out of the thimble, the controlling matrix that's had us running around like being in a mouse trap. Emerge out of that and become this expanded God self, moving into the new 5D reality. That's what I see coming for us. You had a question?
Can you repeat that last awareness? I was trying to follow how you say.
Okay, I can never repeat what I've just said because it just comes, but I'll work to say something like it again. Okay, so how I create is I'm sitting in the stillness. I recognize a situation might have some need to evolve, need to change. Maybe it's got some disharmony in it. I recognize that. But I ask the question first, where is that hitting me inside? Why? Because I created. I take ownership of whatever disharmony I create. I do. No one's doing that outside of me. Because the moment I point out there is the moment I disempower myself. That's the problem with pointing at the shadow all the time and saying, they're doing this, they're ramping that up, they're changing this. Yes, they are. And if you believe that and form a relationship with it, you're limited by it. I went around the world, I went around Britain twice during lockdown and the world traveled overseas once during the lockdown and challenged the whole thing because it was nonsense. So the invitation is to recognize I created it. Why? To challenge perhaps the limitation of it. I see where it hits me inside. I had several confrontations with the police, and I recognized that there was some tightness because I was over-respecting authority. When the authority is here, when I realized it, I let go of that, and then I challenged with the natural law, which is our law, which is a law we're endowed with when we emerge from the source. Primary, number one, we have the freedom and sovereignty of movement and action. So I open that out, right? And now the energy's coming through more strongly. And now visions are going to create. Why don't you go to Scotland? Cave of Robert the Bruce, which is what I did do. Why don't you go across to Ireland? Are you serious? The roads are all locked down. I was the only one on the road traveling through Ireland, right? It said, yeah, no, go, right? There's nobody on the road. I'm thinking, no, I've got English number plates. I'm bound to get pulled up. What's your thoughts, Open? What's your thoughts, dude? Do you don't want to create that? So I go past one police car, but it would happen to be that he'd pulled over somebody else. Well, that was my good fortune, I guess. Not necessarily his, but it was my good fortune. I went past it. I went all through Ireland, and I went through Wales, and I, somehow managed to steer my way through. What am I saying? I'm saying open through the tightness, recognize why you created it, and then look for the imagery, the visions, the senses, the possibilities manifesting. Step toward them, move toward them, but be prepared for it all to change, shift, and reshape. And that's what guided me on this circuitous journey around Britain. So it's you're still positive, you're still stepping courageously into the moment, but you're allowing it to shape and change according to how the energy wants to come through you now. That's what I mean by it. And it does take a lot of practice. It takes a lot of mastery because we've been used to creating like this, chasing down the objective we want. But where is that goal coming from? Where is it really coming from? And how is it invested in this old world reality? Because so many intentions have been geared that way, as opposed to creating, actualizing the God self. This is what I'm talking about. Does anybody else want to ask me a question in relation to what I've shared? I've basically shared the content. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you expand more on intention? And also, so is there like an upkeep of this? So I've experienced this,
Uh-huh.
and then I go back down.
Right.
And is it eventually like 5D? We're just all going to be vibrating so high? And
Okay, so let's talk with the intention first. Okay, so here we are in Homo sapiens being controlled, and then we discover that we can get into the 4D and set an intention. And if we set an intention, right, the quantum field is going to bend round that intention. That's what's been realized. However, what's been forgotten is this. Because I am not separate from Gaia. I am not separate from the sun. I am not separate from the galaxy. The moment I set an intention to do something or even be something is the moment I detach from that natural movement expression of those 4 key centers. And that's limiting. And that, I would say, is being controlled, manipulated by old Anunnaki, coming through spiritual circles, false spiritual teachings. I'm not blaming the people who that's coming through. It was offered to me, as I said, by Enki, and it can be very compelling, it can seem real, and we come through if we're not careful on those distortions. So, to me, that's the challenge of intention setting. However, what can happen is that I might feel a real, let's say, I put up the 9 rays. Yeah, you're welcome. I might feel, for example, my papers have fallen off. I might feel, for example, a strong artistic commitment to creating something. And that might come through my heart. Now, you could say that's an intention, although I'd say it's slightly different or fundamentally different from an intellectual mind-based intention. It's like it wells up and it says, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going. To me, that's authentic heart intention, which is very different. And so I would honor that. Yes, absolutely. Passion and joy. Yes. And letting that come through. To me, that's the crucial thing about it. And yeah, people are going to bounce in and out. Why? Because as soon as you activate this, but when you activate that, it's going to keep pulling on the various layers of investment. And when it pulls on that layer of investment, that manifests out and creates the circumstances to reflect the attachment. So we get pulled back in until we break that attachment, and then we emerge out once more, and then create in a different way. So for me, that's the progressive journey of emergence into 5D, creating from 5D, 6D, 7D. Yeah, right.
So when you got attacked by those entities, how do you deal with them?
Yeah. Great question. This, that. Why? Because what the entities are doing is creating a closed down matrix reality with humanity pulled in. they in themselves have detached from the torus. When you embody the torus, one of two things is going to happen. They will have to leave because you're pulling them into the vortex and unraveling their identity, their control. Either they'll leave or they'll willingly come into the torus because they're ready to surrender. And that's a powerful means by which we can realign a lot of these energies. That's how we helped realign the Anunnaki, for example.
Do you feel that when I got attacked, I wasn't attacked that like you had, but when I felt certain things, I have a compassion for those entities.
Absolutely. Yes. They're lost.
They were lost, they were wounded.
Yes. They're wounded. Yeah. So I'm totally with you to have compassion for them. Compassion but not weakness. Like we have to be careful. Sometimes people say I project love at them. Well, they'll love that, but they'll love that in their identity self. So the risk is to form a limiting relationship of me giving love. Instead, what I would suggest to explore is to dropping into the torus through a particular chakra. Let's say they're attacking through the heart, or they're attaching there, or solar plexus, is to go into the solar plexus and open up and become the void. See what, why are you constricted there? Because that's how they're able to attack there or attach. Why are you invested there? And then can I let go of that and unwind that? And so I use, for example, a stone to help me remember or reinvigorate that vibration, that feeling in that location. And they usually disappear pretty quickly, unless I've got something to learn that I haven't realized yet. Okay, I'm going to close there now. I realize we've got through a lot of material. And we haven't necessarily, we've only really scratched the surface on a lot of this. I feel like we have done so energetically, which is fantastic. But we've only really scratched the surface. If you feel a resonance with this approach, then come and get involved with the work of Openhand. There's a card on each of the seats. You can tune into our web portal where we're updating information about the shift every day. And you can get involved in our workshops and retreats. We've actually got one in Glastonbury coming up in November, and a couple of online ones too, equally as powerful. So check out the website, see if you'd like to get involved. You'd be most welcome. And it'd be lovely to see you again. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Beautiful to see you. Thank you. It's very kind. And maybe see you down the floor again sometime, someplace. I look forward to that, assuming we do. Have a nice evening.